Peace. Brownsbird with a quick solo on the Brownstone Powwow. I'm going to name this the YouTube Petition Cancel Culture. And the reason why I wanted to do this is because I find it interesting now that, two popular YouTube content creators, in which I feel like they're basically just voices or two sides of the same coins. One elaborates themselves into having a conversation about so called black women, the other one allows themselves to have a conversation about so called black men. And so this is what the perceived notion is about it is it's usually the rhetoric of hating black men or hating black women. And y'all gonna know who I'm talking about in a second because it becomes pretty obvious the viewership and all these different things. But this is the reason why it just feeds into this nonsensical, the whole entire gender war piece that is going on, quote unquote, in this country, and the whole entire belief system, which will be a prelude to a future Brownstone Powwow panel, in which the discussion becomes more about how so-called black men don't lead, so-called black women are not feminine, all these rhetorics that take place, and usually a lot of ad hominem attacks start to happen on both ends, on both spectrums. But I definitely wanted to give an analysis into this whole entire perspective about these two individuals just being two sides of the same coin. Whether you agree that their message is agreeable or not agreeable, it's just adding on to the fuel to the fire of the gender war, more specifically towards so-called black people. And these two individuals, must I name right now, that's getting a petition on them to be removed from YouTube, is Cynthia G and Kevin Samuels. Now, being part of the manosphere, there are definitely brothers that do not agree with Kevin Samuels being a part of the manosphere. With Cynthia G, her beginnings come from Boyce Watkins. Whatever she did in time stretched to switch over to having a conversation that seems to be more or less about anti so-called black men rhetoric. I don't know the time and the approximate year that she started it, but it seems to be prevalent now that she got a lot of views. In which they start to use tropes of, more specifically, I see from so-called black women, more or less from the divestment community, and not saying Cynthia G is part of the divestment community or pink pill and all these different things. They use the so-called white man as an alibi in order to say that the so-called black man must step his game up in order to beat over the white man. But in reality, we have an understanding, brothers, and I know you get it just like how I get it, that the so-called black woman is usually in love with the so-called white man. And so she tried all these plights of saying, oh, no, it's not about that. It's about opening opportunities and opening doors up to see other nations, in which they always go to a so-called white man first. They don't try to go along to other nations to make it seem as if they're opening or broadening their options. It's the same play out the rule book every single time. But this is not about bashing so-called black women. This is about making a comparison about how this whole entire cancel culture starts to happen between two personalities on YouTube that seems to spread the same message that a lot of viewers say. They're just attacking it from different angles. Now, a lot of people disagree with Kevin Samuels about his rhetoric about sitting up there putting so-called black women down. And a lot of people don't agree with Cynthia G about her rhetoric about putting so-called black men down. And this is the same type of rhetoric, like I said before. It's just two sides of the same coin. Now, my opinion on this whole entire thing of the cancel culture just proves an idea of idolization, or just the fact of the matter that it's a trite argument between both parties, I would assume both genders, because usually we have an understanding that it's gender-based, right? Who they're attacking and who their target audience is. But just the fact of the matter that when it comes to these type of things of the cancel culture, canceling them too, because they want some peace and harmony within the so-called black community, is not going to happen first and foremost. This whole entire rhetoric of conversations, there is no conversations. I don't understand why people is trying to make it seem like it is conversations when it's not. Mainly what you're getting is entertainment. Seeing people just be berated on these panels, and just seeing people like and subscribe to shit and then doing videos on it afterwards. Now, my whole entire opinion on this, and this is a little bit off topic, I have the understanding that when it comes to the branding of someone like Kevin Samuels, you get a lot of these brothers, or you get a good majority of men that feel it's their business to dress up in suits and do videos just like Kevin Samuels. I don't agree with it, but if that's getting them views, then hey, that's them and their business. Now, I don't know what the whole entire rhetoric with Cynthia G is when it comes to appearance. It doesn't matter about appearance with Cynthia G. What it matters with Cynthia G's is her talking points, which a lot of ladies within that whole entire spectrum takes notes, or they start to get into this whole entire framework of going along with the same thing and same type of talking points that Cynthia G does, and they make their YouTube channel from there. And they do the same thing because they get a reaction from so-called black men. Okay? And with that being said, the cancel culture thing is completely ridiculous and only proves some type of frivolous type of charge that happens from the emotional standpoint of people who can't understand this is nothing more but entertainment on a website, on YouTube. Now, if YouTube was to be gone tomorrow, would anybody even think about having these conversations on any other video streaming services or not? The emotional standpoint from a lot of people who wants to call for the petition of someone like Cynthia G being removed and Kevin Samuels being removed just proves how emotional people are. Understandably, you may not like a content creator. Hey, I don't like a good amount of content creators, but I never will shame them to say that they need to get offline. I won't do that. I won't ever say that a person in particular needs to get offline because I don't like their content. It's easy, you just don't watch it. But all these petitions and all these different things feeds into the gender war because it's a lot of people who want to make these whole entire negotiations and try to have these fun-filled conversations with these people who disagree and try to say, oh, well, I don't like what you're talking about, but let me hit the link so that we can have a conversation and argue about how much I don't like your talking points. It's plain and simple, people. Sometimes you guys need to unplug. You cannot become so emotionally attached to them when it comes to these conversations and the talking points they make. In all honesty, I think most of the time when they have these conversations, which is something I'm going to mention on a future Brownstone Powwow, about they do all of this pandering and all of these different things and talking about, oh, well, we don't like you. It's because they want to get your attention. More or less, and this is a prelude, they just like you. It's just a sick, sadistic way of them sitting up there saying that they like you. They don't want to say it, though, because they want to be able to trigger you and get you upset and get you mad. You understand? So otherwise than that, this was just a quick thought into my world as Bronzebird. And what is it, my opinions about the whole entire conversations and situations such as popular YouTubers such as Cynthia G and Kevin Samuels being put on trial in this new cancel culture rhetoric they're trying to put forward. And how I think it's pretty much ridiculous that they're doing this and about how they want to sign a petition because what is the legal ramifications can they be put off of YouTube? They couldn't be put off of YouTube for hate speech. They couldn't. There's no way that even if you disagree with a woman like Cynthia G, she can be put off of YouTube. The only thing she does is insult so-called black men. That's the only thing she does. She hasn't said anything very profound and provoking, a provoking attitude that would make it make sense for her to be removed off of YouTube. And of course, so-called black women in particular, when it comes to Kevin Samuels, are just in their feelings. And most of the people in viewership, and I'm not going to even just mention so-called black women. Anyone who is in an audience who is not a particular fan of Kevin Samuels or a connoisseur of Kevin Samuels is on a chopping block of trying to have this man removed or having these conversations when women directly call into his show. So I don't understand how this is really a necessary viewpoint. But I mean, look, listen, all I see online is nothing more but a shit show with two polar opposites, like I said, of the same coin, who's being outed because particular people do not like their message. You don't like someone's message, you just don't click on their videos. That's first and foremost. You don't need to take it far to have them removed off of YouTube. What is the legal ways that they can be removed off of YouTube? Y'all need to do a better job on that because I'm pretty sure there's nothing that they're saying that makes them eligible to be removed from YouTube. It's just ridiculous, y'all. See you on the next Brownstone Powwow. Peace.